This misinformation warning. Wee woo, wee woo. I don't put on my pants that consistently. This is one of the greatest unknown speedruns in history. Can you just have a little bit of hardship once for a treat?
Hey, apathyduck, thanks for coming on Speed Trap. I think you're probably currently best known for being I think your title was volunteer coordinator, but kind of general admin of SGL. Also, a few years ago, you were a big figure in the Link to the Past community. You organized some tournaments, or I think technically didn't organize them, but did all the work for them anyway. And also have done a bunch of stuff in the SM community. Anything to add to that sort of brief introduction?
No, no, I think that's good enough. And Linksyon, if you're listening, I didn't say that. He said that. So we're still friends.
So yeah, thanks for coming on. The first thing I usually like to ask is just how you got interested in speedrunning. What brought you to the hobby?
So I had sort of been like just aware of speedrunning for a little bit. I guess I always liked having kind of like a game to play like quote unquote seriously. I had done like, some MMO rating and then I got into Overwatch for a bit and like like sort of when GDQ was kind of getting big, like that was sort of my like, oh, I'll put it on like in the corner and like just pay attention to it. And I was like, yeah, I like it'd be something I would want to get into. And like I was always like, well, if I was going to pick a game, it'd be a Link to the Past. And like the only thing I really knew about it was like it was like a game that like the 80% speed run was like 2 minutes. I was like, well, that seems like a dumb one to play. And then because I just didn't even like think about it. And then the thing that actually kind of like the thing that actually got me into it was Andy and Christos in GDQ 2018 when they did the rando. I was like, well, let me try rando. So, and then like of course you play rando, you play in the group races. Like, why am I losing by an hour? And then I was like, well, let me try to like get better. And I started doing NMG, and just sort of spiraled from there. So, but yes, you can officially blame Andy.
Cool. Yeah, I've heard a bunch of people say that that race was what got them into Link to the Past, actually.
Yeah, there's that, and then there was like because right before me, like there was the NMG 2017 tournament that a lot of people that was like that's the Aries and the Blaine's like all of them started. So I was kind of like the straggler by myself in the NMG scene, like because there was like a big, there's like a big influx kind of like just right before me, and I was like kind of like bringing up the rear in that kind of like group. So
And so this was 2018.
yeah, 2018, like end of 2018. I remember like most of my early PBs was like October 2018, November 2018. Like I went from like not playing at all to getting like a sub 130 in like a month, 2 months, something like that. Like, so it
Wow,
wasn't like,
that's very
yeah,
fast.
yeah. It was. I used to be the young up and comer, and let's see if I can. Maybe I can get down to a 130 again in 2 months again at this point.
Oh, I don't know. Let's see. I've got your SRC profile up here. You got a 135 was your first submitted run in November.
Yeah, there was like that was like the first like two
Yeah.
weeks or something.
Your 129 was, yeah, 6 weeks after that. That's really fast.
Yeah. So I mean, again, that was sort of like at the time that was because at that point we already had like we had the practice hacking already, and like
Yeah.
like you look back like some of the earlier people like early on, like it was took years to even get to like a 135 or a 130, and it's just like this is just kind of one of those hobbies you sort of like stand on the shoulders of giants. I guess that was another misconception I had because it's like, oh, these guys have been playing it for like 20 years. Like, what chance do I? But like, there's just so much knowledge out there now that like you can kind of like, there's, I mean, Ari got the world record, and has had it on and off. And again, he started a year earlier than me, so
Yeah.
it's definitely possible. You started after me, and you're 2 minutes faster than me now. Like, there's a ton of people who started after me that have all cut me now. So.
Yeah, if you just keep playing, you can kind of outlast people who drop out.
Yeah, that was I was that, and then all of a sudden I've become the stationary one for a while. So
Yeah. So you took NMG fairly far. You have a mid 125 PB in NMG, but it looks from this, again, I have your SRC profile up. It looks like you picked up interest in all dungeons quite soon after NMG. You have a PB in that starting only 3 months after your sub 90.
yeah, like, just you kind of the sub 90 is like the big one, and then it's sort of like, well, like honestly, one of the things that I find the most fun in speedrunning is like learning the new stuff. Like that's like, I mean, because you can get like a lot of PBs quickly and that kind of stuff. Plus just like learning things is always fun. So um, NMG is sort of like the basic one, and like AD wasn't even when I did that AD. There was I think there was like 30 runs on the board or something. There wasn't a lot, and I was like, but like Josh had the tutorial at that point. There was already it was like kind of like it was way more accessible than it had been like previously, where like you had to do like the old like one like the sword clips and everything. So I was like, well, let me just learn this, and I kind of get got into that, and it was like, especially if NMG when you play NMG for so long, it's just like the escape and like Eastern, and then like the whole light world thing. And so you start playing AD, and it's just like, let's just go straight to Helma. So like, let's just skip to the fun part. It was like AD, and I was like, this is actually kind of better. So I got into that and everything, and yeah, I got like because I ended up being in the there was the SM A Link to the Past relay race around there, and I was in it as AD, and
Hmm.
I think I had like a 115 at the time or something. So
That was a good time, a pretty good time with old route. Not like close to record or anything, but
no,
pretty
yeah, I
pretty
mean I
solid
got
time.
old route. Jeez. Yeah. That's right. Because now it's like SM now. There's old route and new route and AD. So I'm not even really up. I know most of the stuff, and like a lot of like the fun stuff kind of gotten taken out, and it's a little bit less of an exciting category now, I think. So, but
Interesting. Yeah, it's a little bit more glitch heavy now, but it's also shorter, and you don't have to do escape.
yeah, not doing a skip. That was the one thing because again, it was just like you're grinding NMG, and you're like, okay, I just want to do something else, and then you start grinding AD, and the first 6 minutes are still the same. You're like, and it's almost worse because it's like there's those first 5 minutes, and then you go straight into the citrus clip, and that's just like, well, reset. Like you messed that one up, and that's what you like, you kind of have a reset point right after escape, and it's just almost worse sometimes. So it's cool that yeah, escape kind of gotten taken out, but some of the other like fun stuff later in the and like because we had that AD tournament. And I think that was like the most accessible it ever was. Like that was the one time in history to do it, and we were able to get it done. And like I don't even know how many people were on the AD leaderboard, but I think we more than doubled it in that tournament because it was like 35 when we started. And I think we was like above 70 when it ended.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about that. I have some questions about that. I'm
Go
so
for it.
curious about how that happened. I was just looking at the challenge for that today. There were 59 entrants in that tournament.
Yeah,
How did you
yeah.
get 59 people to play AD? That's preposterous.
So I don't even think like when you said so it was because it was Langston was actually running the tournament. It was his idea to do it.
Okay.
Because I had gotten into AD, and it was like I had gotten into AD, and like the Josh tutorial stuff was kind of out of date, and like there was a couple people who wanted to learn it. So I was like, well, let me I had kind of become like the AD guy a little bit, and I was like, well, let me do like a new tutorial, and I tried to do a video, and like Chex was there, and he was like, this is bad. I'm like, yeah, I know, this is not good. And it's just like, I mean, even like things just move so fast. It was like, when it wasn't even that. I think I was just like, let me just write this down in a paste bin, and I wrote it down in a paste bin, and then like I think like Kelsey wanted to learn it, so I sent her like the paste bin, and like here's like the notes and stuff, and it was just my like chicken scratch like ramblings in a paste bin. She was like, Duck, can we please turn this into a Word document and edit it and like so it's readable? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we that's basically how the AD tutorial came about, where we wrote that thing. And then like Lanks was kind of kicking around the idea of a tournament at some point for AD, and it was just like, well, we're gonna write the tutorial. Why don't we release the tutorial? We'll have the tutorial done, then we'll do the tournament because that'll be like that'd be a great time to get people involved and everything. And like yeah, I think it was just because again there was like that 2017 NMG tournament was around. Oh, and the other thing is it was right when COVID started.
Yeah,
So
that helped for sure. Just people had nothing else to do.
yeah, I think a lot of people were just like, oh, a tournament, something to do, right? And or like something to do, and like also like if it was just an NMG tournament, like maybe not as exciting, but then it was something to do, and also like something you have the time to sit down and learn. So again, I think it was just sort of like it was such a perfect storm. That was when it was the most accessible. Like there was no required one frame clips in that thing at all. Like the Silver's route was only like 40 seconds slower or something because you had to go get Silvers, but like you got him for like Helmasaur, you got him for Vitreous. So it was also very accessible to new players because most of the hard things in that category you could just shoot with Silvers and it didn't matter, right? And like especially for the tournament, like a lot of people were getting them because it was only like the top players were really like confident to like go for it.
Yeah, this was pre Spin Speed Helma, and you had to do 4 heart Helmasaur.
Yeah,
So I was in that tournament and I got silvers because I was like, well, I can either learn all of the tech in RMG or get good enough at Helmasaur to skip silvers. Like I don't have time
right,
for both before my
right.
races.
Yeah, because I think you were like around like a 129 NMG ish
Yeah,
around that.
it's
Like you're
actually
definitely sub 130, but I think like
it's
just crossed it
actually
maybe.
I guess Langsian's fault because what happened was I got my sub 90 NMG time. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know if I want to keep speedrunning this game. I don't know how much I want to stream or whatever. The next morning, I wake up to the announcement of the AD tournament. And I'm like, all right, I'll
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah. Exactly. Same thing because I got to the 90 and I was like, I need to do something else. Like,
Yeah.
because I had also on the journey to the sub 90, I had like a big 2 minute PB. I went from like 32 to like 30:11, and there was a Moldorm fall in there. So like I could have like had like this like giant skip. I remember Ari was in my chat. He was like, "Yo, this is like a huge PB. Like, and it's not the one you want." And then of course you get I got stuck there for like another like I mean, I want to say like a month in retrospect, but like again, like from starting to like 130, it was only 6 weeks. So it was probably like the span of like 2 weeks or something. But I remember a lot of runs died. I had like a surefire like 130 in Argus where I went above Argus and Argus went up and killed me. Like that was so
Mm.
like you kind of got like stuck there. I remember actually Lynx actually helped me. This is somehow turning into the Lynx Hour podcast. So like when I was around then, it was like, well, I said like, you know, it was like because I'm very like rigorous in my mind. It's like, well, I won't drop powder until I get to sub 130. He's like, well, how much do you use it? I'm like, oh, I don't use it. He's like, well, just drop powder. What are you doing? Like, it's like he's like, well, I want to finish runs because that was the big like you know when Ari came in, it was like very like finish a run thing. It's like, okay, so die and then finish your run, right? The run's over either way. I'm like, oh yeah, it's like it was very much it was like one of those like they don't ask how, they ask how meant, right? You know, like I'm like, yeah, good point. So I ended up dropping like that 130 11 to the sub 130. I dropped powder. So and then it was just like I need to do something else because I felt like I was just like grinding it. So and like I mean I think even still like you know 130 really isn't like that big of a hill to climb anymore. So like it's a good time to like take a break and do something else and learn another category or game or whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than it was, as you said, in 2015 or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Like just the tools and I mean I learned from the Andy Thigh tutorial. So like I
Yeah,
mean
me too.
not having to stare at those meaty boys for 4 hours with Sean just chewing oatmeal or whatever in the background for half of it. Like one day I'll ask him what he was eating because it's that's the important link to the past lore. But yeah, we have like the FMG tutorial now, and there's just so many like, and I'm sure I don't even know if there's anything necessarily newer than that even, but
That's the newest, like, real tutorial, like full
yeah,
game
yeah, it
resource.
takes so
Yeah.
much work to do like that was one of the reasons I went with the text because I was like, oh, if we do text, you can be like a living document. We can just update it and add it, and then like part of the problem is the route got so blown up afterwards with of course Yuzu just like it was a completely new thing. You almost have to completely rewrite it again, and it was just like we had just done it, so the timing on that was pretty bad. I know we had talked about this that I just need to make sure I give editing permissions to other people, anyone who wants it. So anyone who's watching this who wants to update the tutorial, who knows how, like you know, let me know and I'll gladly hand the keys over.
I'm trying to talk someone into doing it. Everybody so far doesn't want to take on the responsibility, but eventually we'll get someone.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add you as editor too, and that way,
Yeah,
like
that's fine.
you know, because I'm sort of on the outskirts right now. So
Yeah. Yeah, so after that you were kind of done with Link to the Past after the RMG, the All Dungeons tournament. Is
I
that
wasn't
right?
no. So I mean, I was going back and forth. So I did. There was the another NMG tournament.
Oh, there
My
was
last
Wayne
event, yeah.
MG, right?
Yeah. I was in that. My career officially got ended by dying to not Helmet to Moldorm, not falling, dying to Moldorm twice.
Oh
I
boy.
kind of rage quit, but even then, I was still like I wasn't doing the speed run as much, but I was still because I was doing SMZ3s a lot and
Right.
everything, so I was always keeping up the Zelda on that for a while. So, but I was going back and forth a lot. I was also having controller issues during that NMG tournament. Like I had some issues with like my D-pad and everything, so it just
Yeah,
kind
that
of made it
sucks.
not fun. Yeah, I mean, I sort of bounce around. Like I do remember when I was like, because again, in retrospect, it's crazy because it was like it was only like 6 weeks to get, and even like to 125, I think was not that long. I mean, it was within like I want to say it was like 6 months or 7 months or something, maybe a little longer because I'm probably actually longer than that because I was bouncing back and forth a lot. So
So your 125 was December 2019. Your first run was November 2018, so about 13 months.
yeah, well, and I had started running about a month earlier than that, just like not like, you know, my
Right.
first. I didn't like
Yeah.
upload
So
my 2 hour run because it was like whatever. Like, yeah, yeah. So yeah, about a year. But yeah, I mean, retrospect, it feels so because I remember, I mean, when I got the 25, I already had like a 47, I think, at least in Super Metroid. I might have even known New Route at that point. Maybe not. I think I was after that.
so you were running both games at once for a while.
Yeah, I was definitely going back and forth. And was that was the one nice thing about SMZ3 is it kind of let me keep up in both. So then, like, because I was always kind of playing rando and complaining about it. I was definitely one of the like, I was one of the people who would just complain about rando all the time, and then I would keep playing it. I had a friend in college where like he would just like sit there and he'd be eating chips, and he was just like, "Those chips are awful," and he just keeps eating them. I'm just like, you could stop. It's like that's what I feel like with rando a lot. It's like why do you keep doing this? Like, um, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like the reason I kind of like because I sort of fell off the speedrunning a little bit. I was doing mostly rando, and honestly, the reason I just kind of like stopped with rando too is just like I was just having like anxiety issues and everything, especially like rando, like towards the end, like you just like don't know if you're winning or losing and everything. And it's just like I don't need this anymore. And like quick swap came into SMZ3, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. Like I'm fine. Like I don't
Oh,
like.
interesting.
Yeah, that was yeah, it was one of the they finally allowed quick swap, and I was just like, and like I don't want to get to it too much. But this debate has been had 1,000 times. I'm sure has been had on this podcast 1,000
I don't
times.
think so. I
But
don't think
like,
we've talked about quick swap really.
okay, do you want to talk about it for
Yeah,
two
go
hours?
at yeah. Let's go.
Just the short, and there's like the people who go like, oh well, it's just like the worst logic is like we don't have to turn it on. Like okay, well you also don't have to learn how to go fast. It's like it is just a
Right.
straight. It just the problem like one of the things I like about A Link to the Past is a lot of it is like a puzzle, like where you're like trying to like solve it and put it together, which is the reason I don't like where it randomize like things that like randomize the room and stuff because you don't know what's coming up next. And in those modes, quick swap makes perfect sense because like there is no planning ahead, right? But like I'm sure you've seen it too. Someone would post like in the random forums like this is so much faster, and it'd be like okay, well now add both of the menus. And it like would I think at some point there was like oh if you carry the like a Samaria block you can walk faster in uh the priest or whatever. And like Zero Rush post it, it's like okay, but it's like that's only saves like 30 sec frames, and it's like 2 seconds to menu and go back. So it's like there's so and again, so it's just so much of the like I like the puzzle of like well you have to consider the menu here and all this other kind of stuff, and it's just a different game with quick swap. And like in vanilla Link to the Past, I kind of get it because it does raise the like skill ceiling a little bit with all these other strats and everything, but like I feel like SMZ3 solved the scaling by basically just shoving this other game that's just a skill check onto it. Like, because with SMZ, when you do SMZ threes, you almost just like go straight through SM because it's pretty straightforward. And once you have a
Hmm.
little, you can kind of do everything if you're like you know what you're doing and you know the tricks. So it's like almost just like the straight skill check that gets bolted to a Link to the Past, which both fixes a lot of problems and then creates a lot more problems. But so yeah, I just again, it's just like I don't want to like. There's just so much other like random only tech to learn where it's like, oh, you want to menu to like the hook shot and do, and now they took out lag, so like all the lag stuff. It's just it's a different. It's not even the same game anymore. Like
It's quite different these days.
yeah,
Yeah.
we've made the joke where it's like the random devs are trying to remove all of the Link to the Past from a Link to the Past randomizer. Like so, and it's like you know it's I've said this before too with it, like rando very much is like it's like poker, right? And it's so it's there's the skill and there's also a luck element to it, right? And it's like if you're looking at like a dev or rule decision or anything, you have this knob, right? And to the left it's all skill, right? Which is just the vanilla speed run, right? Which racing those in a tournament has its own faults, you know, like we've seen that and everything. Or I guess for you a benefit.
I like
Congratulations
it.
on the yeah. You're gonna grab your trophy.
Oh no, I was turning on my light.
Oh, I thought
Sun's
you
going
had your
down.
trophy. And
No,
you
no,
were
no.
gonna bring it. Yeah. He's like, yeah, actually, I like you. You know, here's my trophy. That would have been good, man. You missed. Do you want to redo that so we can do the comedy correctly? But yeah, like vanilla speedruns are way over here, where it's like, you know, the only way like someone who is quote unquote like worse is gonna win by the better person making mistakes, right? And that kind of feels bad. And then like on the other side, you're just flipping coins, right? You can just skip the whole thing. You can just play blackjack on stream, right, to see who wins. And it's like
I'm
you
not
got
sure
this
you can
dial.
actually. I think there's rules about that.
Well, if you're as long as you're not doing it for money, right? I'm just saying, like,
Yeah,
if you're
yeah,
gonna have a rando, like, there's
yeah.
this whole gambling aspect in it and everything. Like, and it's just like you have a knob, you can turn it towards skill or you can turn it towards, coin flip. And it just seems like so much of the random community just wants to hard crank it to the right. And it's like, all right, like that's, it's a bit much. But I mean, I get it, but like it's just kind of getting to the point where it's just like, yeah, it's just not like kind of what I want to be doing anymore. So, and then I was just like, well, let me just take a break from like speedrunning in general, and then it's been like 2 years. So,
Yeah. So I guess I have two questions about that. One is, have you played any of the newer SM randos? Because they seem to have gotten a
no.
lot better in the last couple years. Because
So
I was talking to MM2 about this, and he was on the podcast as well. And SMZ3, I think, partly became popular because SM players wanted to play randomized games, but SM Rando was bad at that time.
yeah, that was part of it.
Yeah, and so I think that SM, just like pure SM Rando, is in a much better spot now, and just SM Rando can be actually fun on its own. So that might be something that you would enjoy now if you just want to like play
Oh yeah, I mean
randomized SM.
I was in the SM Rando League with
Oh,
Audra
okay,
and Ace. Like we were in the finals. Like we won like our first like 18 games or something like in a row.
nice.
Like we were maybe not that many. We were like 8 or something. But we have our thread together, and we were posting like we would just search like 1-0 in the GIF, and we just whatever would show up. And so whenever we won, like we got to like 8-0 or something like that before. So yeah, I mean and that was even so that was still on because there was the Varia, and now they had the Dash randomizer, which like kind of like the original Dash like changed things, but now they've kind of take the problem like the Varia devs were just never they just did not care about racing at all. So like people would ask them stuff, and then if they were just like, nah, we don't want it, which is fine. I commend that, right? It's like,
Sure.
look, you do what you want and everything. Part of me actually kind of liked having devs that didn't care about racing because again, one of the things I like about speedrunning is like you're sort of taking this game that was not designed to be tried this way and trying to like beat it at its own thing,
Yeah.
right? So again, like we've all talked about, like, oh, let's get rid of like blue balls, right? And it's like, well, that's just like it's not the same game anymore, right? It's like it's part of it, right? And it kind of sucks and everything, and but then you can just like, why don't we take out all RNG in the game, right? And it's like, okay, like again, it's this knob that you can turn. So I do kind of like the like because they're not trying to make it for racing, right? Like you sort of have to deal with like some of the bumps and like the weird lumpy things, right? And you have to sort of go around those because like I think what like a lot of like the racers want is like they to be quote unquote fair, and it's like if you try to do that, then it's I don't know, it kind of leads to a bunch of like weird issues. The only thing I would ever complain about the VAR randomizer as far as racing is like where some of like the like save stations were for like resetting and stuff if you got like soft lock because some of it just did not make sense. But but yeah, so like Dash is sort of completely so now like Dash randomizer has all like the old Varia options. That's just what everyone uses for racing now. So as far as I can tell, Varia is just completely gone. And then there's map rando, which is its own complete other crazy thing that
Yeah.
like again like I'm more of a vanilla guy, so I've never really done cross keys or any of that kind of like that stuff. So like map rando's over there, and it's cool, and it's really cool tech and like how people figure that out and everything. But again, now that any room could connect to any other room, there's so many like weird strats that are now available that it's just like it just explodes the knowledge base, and it's just like it's just too much. Like I don't like it's the to remain competitive and something like that. But that's actually why I was like one of the main like things in SM rando was area rando. I was like, oh, this is like because I don't really like that kind of stuff, but like because of some of the issues that like just straight boring SM rando has, area rando actually fixes that, and because it's just areas and not all the doors, it sort of solves the issue and it sort of turns into its own thing. So it's actually pretty fun.
Yeah, that's kind of what MM2 was telling me was that area rando is like a really good balance, whereas map rando
Yeah,
is like too sort of spiky or whatever, like too like
yeah,
rando. Like the like
yeah, yeah.
exciting cool stuff that makes for good YouTube clips happens in map rando, but that's not actually fun for racing.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to sort of like design like I think if I was to design like a rando from the ground up for racing, like and like I've had this conversation with Blaine. He's the exact opposite of me. Like what I like, some like because I've had a couple like times I'm commentating right, and it's like I think it was like one of the ones where it was like one of those like 6 out of 7 crystals or something like that, right? And it was like one person was in Mire and one person was in Ice Palace, and it was like they could both find a different item and be in go mode, right? So it's like even when the one guy found like Ice Rod, it was like, well, if Bo's in the other one, this is still a race, right? And it's like, because so much the problem with rando is like, let's say let's take an easy example. You go and do a pendant dungeon and it's nothing, right? You've now just lost 2 minutes or 5 minutes or however
Right,
long
whatever
it
it is.
took, right? And like there is no like comeback mechanic built into that, right? The only kind of comeback mechanic you have, it's like, oh, I made a couple bad choices, so now I have to like throw Hail Marys and do wild stuff, right? Which either means you lose by 30 minutes, right? And now the race is boring, or now you spike it and you win, and it's like, well, I only won because I was losing, and that kind of leaves a bad taste in. Like I've been on the other end of that before, where it was like, I go off into this path and like it was like, well, I died like 4 times, so I tried the one in a million. Like I just went to pull ped and that was it. And I'm like,
Right.
cool, that was
Yeah.
awesome, thanks. So like I get kind of unlucky in rando. So although I get pretty lucky IRL for like just you know, so I can only complain so much. So I'll take not being dead over having a good rando streak. Like it's probably for the best.
That is a little bit more important, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's again, this is I don't know. There's like you could talk about this for like I'm a math guy and like I have a master's in engineering and everything. So like just sitting like one of the reasons I like rando is like like sitting down and thinking about stuff and the way that like you get into arguments about like, oh, what's the best way to what's the optimal way of opening and blah and like all this back and forth and like you're like and like again it kind of comes down to the problem. It's like I say it's like it's poker, right? And you're gambling, so it's like a statistic. I forget exactly. I'm misquoting it all the time now, but it's something like it's like in the ballpark. If like you have like one player versus another player, or one team versus another team, and it's like a 60% chance to win any game, and the other team's like a 40% chance. Like somewhere in there, it's like how many games you would need to have a 95% confidence that the better team won is something like 255. Like I don't think people realize how many like events you actually need.
I don't think that's right.
It might. It's yeah. Like I said, I've misquoted it so much. We can figure it out. We'll figure it out afterwards. You can put a little like addendum up, but it goes up surprisingly quickly. Like a 7 game series is not nearly enough to say like the better team definitely won unless it's like an 80-20 difference, right? Like if they're anywhere close to like being even, it takes a lot of rolls to figure out like what an actual small sample size is. So like going 2 out of 3 basically like means nothing in a lot
Well,
of the random stuff.
it's a lot better than 1 out of 1. It really does improve your confidence a lot that the better player
Sure,
won.
but like we're talking about like six. You're talking about like I don't even know 2 out of 3 is getting you up to like 1 sigma of confidence.
Yeah, I'm
I'm
getting
shooting from
about
the
my
hip. I
head,
don't like
but
shooting from the hip, but it's more when if you sit down and run the numbers, it is what's a small sample size and what's a large sample size. Those numbers are way bigger than people think they are. Again, look at poker, right?
well,
Like
I don't know what people think. I think that people like the possibility of people getting lucky and the underdog winning. I don't think that's a bug necessarily. I think
no,
that
no, 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 no. I again, and this is going back to like the dial left or right, right? It's like
yeah,
where do you
yeah,
want to
sure.
set the dial? All I'm saying is like because I've said something like time people like it's like well it's just random and it's like well it's 2 out of 3 so it's less random okay but yeah but it like you're still gonna have a lot of upsets and you're gonna have a lot of big upsets too
Yeah,
right so
for sure.
yeah like again to get to like the quote unquote like large out of small sample size you need like where that starts people I think really misunderestimate like how big that number is
Yeah, you have to
so
get quite lucky to win a rando event.
yeah. Yeah, we kind of just started. I didn't plan on talking about this. I apologize. I would have. I don't. I hate
All good.
being like the misinformation guy, just going on the internet and lying.
No, I
Uh,
love misinformation. So if you got any more, just unload it here.
well, it's the misinformation season, so it's that time of year.
We gotta celebrate appropriately.
Yeah, just put out more into the world. So, but all right, let's talk about something I'm not. I don't have to make up statistics about off the top of my head.
Yeah, so you didn't really speedrun for a couple years, and I'm curious about what you were doing instead. But I'd like to just go ahead and
Satisfactory,
jump. Satisfactory, really.
more or less. Yeah.
Okay, I that we can talk about that. I could never get into Satisfactory. I have played several hundred hours of Factorio, I think, and I tried Satisfactory, and I couldn't really get into it. Something about it being 3D, or like how everything's like so big. You don't have these like nice, cute little compact factories the way you do in
It's
Factorio.
it's
Not for
definitely
me.
it's definitely different. I mean, Satisfactory is more of like there's more exploration and yeah, it's less of the just like making the factory like move type of thing. And there's a lot of like you can actually like make nice factories and this kind of stuff. The logistics chains are a lot simpler. It is because when I first started playing, I'm like I'm gonna make a main bus. And I was like, well, this isn't gonna work. So like it's just a different approach. I think I liked what I like about it. It's just a different approach to doing it. But I have Satisfactory, I have Dyson Sphere program, I have
Oh yeah.
the new Shapes, what Shapes 2 is. Like Shapes is I like Shapes because it's actually like um because it's not just like you get copper plus iron and you make like an alloy. It's like no, here's the shapes and you actually are like building the like assembler to make the thing, right? Because like you have to like rotate the shapes around and
Hmm.
everything. So it's not just like these two things make this and you got to go get them. It's like no, you actually have to like design the actual machine. So that those ones are really fun too. But
So one thing I really like about Factorio is that it tries to kill you. So it's not just constant building. There's like some push and pull where you have to like build turrets and stuff. I think that adds a nice
yeah, the turrets and
aspect to the
Fetcher are a
game.
little because just like build turret and then done. Like it's I mean it's just kind of another logistic thing that you need to. It's just like a constant logistic drain that you need. So
Yeah. I don't know. I
I
think
mean
it adds
yeah
a nice tension to the game.
yeah sure. I mean it depends on what you're after. Like
Yeah.
I kind of look at most of the I haven't played Dyson Sphere program since they put the enemies in.
Hmm.
Satisfactory just does not have. I mean they have the but those are like exploring creatures. Like once you put your base down, they never attack your base or
Right.
anything. So it's just different ones. There's like Mindustry or something. There's another one I have where it's like it's simple, but you're basically just kind of like building like turrets and stuff. So, but yeah, I like them more just for like the same reason I like City Skylines or any of those
Right.
things.
Sure.
Just like you're just trying to make something grow and everything. So, but yeah, I mean, I've mostly just like I hadn't basically casual gamed in like 6 years, and so I just been doing that kind of stuff. Uh, that first year was also like, hey, maybe I should like solve all my mental health issues. So like I did that. That was fun.
Oh wow, you solved
So
all your mental health
I
issues.
well, I just have pills now.
Oh, that helps.
I took the I'm gonna solve all my well, that's impossible. I take these pills. All right, I took the edge off a lot of my mental health issues.
I'm
Like
glad to hear that.
yeah, so that's actually why we missed 2023 because like partly it was like we were planning on going and then it was like 3 weeks before like I never bought tickets and it was like I could scramble and figure out a way to go, and but it's almost going to be more stress. And like I wasn't even going to play anything. I was just going to show up and just like
Hang out.
commentate and
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, just like hang out and everything. And obviously, I wasn't working there yet, and it was just like at this point, I'd rather just like sit and like relax. So yeah, that first year, I kind of just like. I mean, I haven't been playing in 2 years, but like that first year was just kind of like, let me just get a lot of like life stuff in order. I got the casual game for a little bit. I started playing hockey again, so that's been taking up a ton of my time. So like I started getting in shape and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I kind of just took a year off from like serious gaming and got a lot of that stuff in line. And then I was like, around the time I was like, okay, let me start getting back into it, like either doing commentary or anything. The SGL, the speed gaming thing came up. So and then I've just been busy with that mostly, like before even trying to like dive back into things. So I've been, and I kind of like being more of a behind the scenes kind of guy, anyways. So
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, as alluded to earlier, you were very involved with the administration of the All Dungeons tournament, and I think you also helped out with Wayne's tournament, right?
yeah, with brainstorm was funny. So it was so with the AD tournament we had like Greenham was part of the admin and he like because he had run the 2017 tournament
Hmm.
and it was like well we just want you on the admin team because like you've done this before and like you can like it was basically like the consigliere. He was like that's fine but I don't want to do any work. Like you don't have to do any work. That's fine. And then yeah I ended up doing like a lot of the just like the day-to-day stuff. Again just partly because I was just like AD was kind of like my baby at that point. I'd written, the tutorial and everything was, and even though Lynx was in charge of it, I'd sort of just like, I was the one who was just around the most because I had the free time and I had the interest, right? So I just, I'm sure as you can say, like once I like want something to work, like I'm going to put like all my effort into it. And
Yeah.
then so the Brain NMG one, I was basically the green ham. I was like, look, listen, I'll be around to help you if you want. I've not been through this before, but I don't want to do all the work. He's like, that's fine. You can sit in the back. And then it's about like I'm a night owl and I was PST at that point because I just moved out here. So like I would wake up and I was like, oh, is there anything to do? And like some of the other people on it like had already done everything. I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to sleep. So like I did nothing in that tournament.
Okay.
So I was on the like in the beginning like we had some of like the early meet because that was the one where we had the interesting bracket format, which like I think that went so well. Like I think every tournament should use that format with the upper and the lower bracket things, and like it's because it made so many more of the matches more interesting.
I don't remember it exactly, but it was definitely good. A lot of the matches
Yeah, yeah,
were
we
actually
had because it was
close.
like there was an upper bracket and a lower bracket for groups, right? Um, so like it kind of got because going back to the AD tournament, and of course, AD has the problem of like the soft lock problem or the hard lock problem, right? Where it's like you do be able to make fun of Josh's 125-16, which was an emote for a while during that was getting spammed. Because like you soft lock, you're gonna lose 10 minutes, right? Or something, or like you just stop. So Swerve was in like a group. He was like, I think he was of like Andy and Owasi, and like so, anyways, everyone kept soft locking to him. And he was just like, because he was just like, I just want to learn the game, the route for fun, right? And like, so he like did the safest stuff, and like he was like getting 120s, but everyone was hard locking, and it was like he exited the group like 3-0 or something, or like it was like 2-1 or something. I think he did like have one loss, and it was like, okay, well, because like when we reseeded it, we took your times into account because we wanted to make your time, and that's one of the reasons people were playing hard against him was your final times actually mattered for
Oh, for
proceeding into
seeding,
the
yeah.
yeah, because we didn't want to like again like someone like a group stage where it's like a top person is playing like a newbie where it's just like well this doesn't matter where they can just like spin in circles for a while. It's like well no their time still matters, right? So we were trying to solve that problem as well. But anyways, so Swerve obviously ends up dead last, and it's like, all right, congratulations, you get to play Zelda now, and it's just like, cool, right? And it was just
Right,
like,
right.
even Swerve was like, I don't want to do this, like.
Yeah.
So with the Wayne NMG one, like the fact that it was like the groups because like we had a group of four and it was like only from people who had like 127s and lower were in that top. So those groups were really competitive, right? And it was a lot of really good runs. Um, and then it was basically instead of everyone just getting reseated on the bottom, it was like the top group and like the better you did in the top group, you got just more buys.
Yeah, you
Like
got seeded really deep in.
Ari ended up having like 6 buys or
Right.
something, right? But the way it worked out it was just like you would have all these other matches, right? That would and eventually someone would sort of percolate up into Ari and then
Right.
but it would be, it wouldn't be someone who had like a 135 playing Ari. It'd be like you at the time, right? Like it's 128 playing an area, and you'd be like, oh, okay, this is still at least like again, it's just like one death, right, in a bad spot. We can at least sort of change it. So like, and it was like there was so many good like that thing was just all good matchups the entire way. It wasn't just like again, it wasn't like an area versus a swerve thing where it was just like
Right.
it's just like that's there's only so much. I love swerve, but there's only so much that can be done, right? So yeah, we need to dust off. I need to steal it for SGL and everything because like that format was just beautiful, like amazing. So
I'm like pretty anti elimination brackets at all for like speedrunning events. I think SGL is maybe an exception because it's like supposed to be prestigious. There's actually money on the line and stuff like that. But like, I don't
yeah,
know if you
sure.
know anything about how I run the league events.
No, I've been completely. I would actually look into joining and getting back into stuff, but I'm doing stuff with Magfest, so there's other things I need to derust. So
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they run pretty frequently if you ever want to pop in for an NMG one. But the
I
way we do
will.
it is we run qualifiers for a couple of weeks, and then everybody is seeded based on their best qualifier time, and we just make groups of 8 people.
Right.
So it's always like tight bands, right? Like the top bracket will be like a 123 players, 124 players, maybe like a 125 runner. So like all the races in every division are like always pretty close, just
Right.
because we chop people up into small enough groups that they can actually be all the races can be competitive. And
Yeah.
like I think that I mean Dwayne's approach also solved that problem, although it's like a kind of a more complicated way of doing it by
But
seeding
at least
people
it's
deep into the
still
bracket. But it
it's
solves the
still
same kind of problem.
yeah. I mean, like the way in the Link to the Past community, I know we were always like with the tournaments, like the winner was incidental. It was the like just getting a bunch of people together and playing constantly
Yeah.
type of thing, right? Like
Yeah.
that was the main thing. So like if you're just trying to come up, so like yeah, like if you're just trying to come up with like a thing to do like every day type of thing, like a league or something makes sense. But every once in a while, a tournament is fun, right? For various reasons. Where you, but and no matter whether you have elimination brackets or round robin or switch, it's like at some point you got to say that guy won, right? And there's only going to be a handful of people it's probably going to come from.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm certainly always. I don't know if I should say my. I don't know. Did I tell you about the NMG tournament I wanted to do, the like mentor tournament?
I don't think so.
I think should I spill it on the podcast? Well, it's fine. Well, I don't care who does it. I just want to do it at some point. If someone steals this, you have to restream it on SG. That's all I care about. But so kind of so like basically, I want to do like the go mode. I'm sorry if I'm opposing competing podcasts.
I'm sorry.
But like basically, I'm stealing their idea. But we're not going to do it in random. We're going to do vanilla. So it's in my mind, the way we would work it is you get basically just everyone signs up. You don't sign up as a mentor or mentee or anything like that. We're just gonna everyone sign up because who knows who's gonna sign up and how many people, whatever. So screw it. We'll just put everyone into a giant bucket, right? And even if it's all sub 130 players, a 129 player has a ton of things to still learn, right? So this would still work. You just put everyone in there. We either do it by PBs or a qualifying race or whatever, however you do, right? So we put everyone in order. Dead last goes first. They draft their mentor, right? So they'd probably pick like Ari, or maybe they would pick you, right? Because they think maybe you're a better teacher, you have like a better chemistry with them or whatever.
Right.
And then it's just and it goes like that, bottom up draft, and then wherever it meets in the middle, right? Or basically, and at that point it's less mentor mentee and just like two people like, I don't know if you had someone like. There's a lot of times people like kind of like come up together, right? And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
learn with each other. So like the ones in the middle would be more like that kind of relationship, but anyway, like it would be like, okay, like by rule, you're required to spend like an hour and a half per week with your mentee, right? Which is effectively one run, right? Whether it's doing a PV review or just running together or talking, whatever, that kind of stuff. You get that. And then the way the races would work, right, is the mentees would run, right? So they're gonna go, and like the lower ones, they're gonna drop like a 2 hour time or something, right? And then it's a relay where your mentor runs, right? So
Oh.
right. So again, it's like you have got like the dead last is with Airy, right? He put in a 120 time, but then like the guy racing it across him, even if he put in like a 150, right? If he's like my partner, right, or something like that, then all of a sudden you have like me running, like trying to keep Airy off as like he's coming up like a shark, trying to so like you have this like cool like relay thing, and then you would have a lot of like, well, this is a big lead, and now there's gonna be comebacks and all that kind of stuff. So like you'll probably actually get a lot of like close Ganon finishes, or just like at some point like there's gonna be an overtake or something like that. So again, just like a different way of like doing it, and then again, it would be a good way just to get like new people like involved and everything, sort of. Because like I mean, I don't know if the PB review things is still like a thing, but like people would do those all the time, so it just sort of like formalizes this for a little bit. And again, it's just like I just because yeah, with just a vanilla speedrun tournament, it's just like the better player is going to win, right? And like that's just the way it's going to be most of the time, unless something unfortunate happens. And then you're not even like, because it's like I've been commenting stuff where it's like, the better player dies, right? And you're just like, it's almost hard to be excited for the upset, right? Like usually upsets are these big cool things and everything. You can really get hyped for it, and it's just like, well, he got 15 blue balls and then fell off a cliff, and like because like that was the worst pattern I've ever seen, right? And it's like I'm not gonna be like, yay, the other guy won, right? It sort of leaves like this weird. So like, yeah, doing like you said, just you're anti like just the straight elimination bracket thing, and like for vanilla speedruns, yeah, it can be a bit rough
Yeah.
depending on what it is and what the game is and everything. It's just, I mean, because like to speedrun, right? It's even like I know A Link to the Past is notorious we're just consistency hawks, right? It's just like that's the thing, like we pound in the tail, like just consistency, consistent. But like any speed run, right? Any speedrunner is just insanely consistent, even at things that they would consider quote unquote inconsistent, right? Compared to like anything else you do in your life, right? Like I don't put on my pants that consistently. Like I'll put like two in the same leg, or I'll rip one. It's just like, so it's like when you're running a tournament, right, against like the most consistent people doing something, it's like, yeah, the guy who's better is just going to win, right? Like that's just the way it is. So, and then again, when they don't, it's almost always because of something, unfortunate, or I mean, I'm not, not all again, like it just, close, like you versus Doomtap, really good race, right? Like
Right, right.
that easily can go either way, right? And like, I mean, his time is still like almost a minute better than yours, isn't it? Is
Like
he below
30
123?
seconds, yeah.
Just 30 seconds? Okay, yeah. Which is a significant
It's a
gap
lot
depending
at
on,
that level, yeah.
yeah, especially at that level but again, that's just like, it's just like you're just shaving off like such little edges, and by definition, right? PBs are outliers, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, it's one thing that's theoretically fun about a tournament. It's just because like there are some speedrunners who are just like very reset heavy, right? And they're just trying to get that big outlier run. So it's like we're theoretically a tournament rewards consistency more than the outlier run. But like generally people don't have their curves that mismatched, right? Where someone's like really that far left on the outlier thing versus the consistency. So and again, the people who are the best are just sort of like it sort of just collapses to a point. So
I think that as a viewer, races between like mid-level runners who are close, like two 128 runners, I think is like the sweet spot for like,
yeah, exactly.
because they're not that consistent yet, but they're not gonna like all like die three times to cold stare, but they are gonna like randomly lose 40 seconds to some stupid thing because they lost their minds or whatever.
I mean, I
And so
think
there can be like swings that are actually competitive and lead changes and stuff. So those can be really fun.
I think the highlight of NMG at SGL was Vex and Jesse running,
That was a
especially,
cool race, yeah.
and neither of them got in. I mean, a lot, half of it was because Andy showed up as an eggplant at the end of it, right? But it was like, it was two guys that they knew, like, look, they both knew they could get in, but they didn't really care all that much, right? Because again, it's like your reward is to play airy. It's like cool, like it's like so you get one more run, right? Like it wasn't like this huge,
That's the
because
problem with elimination brackets is that
yeah,
they're
exactly.
because they have to be seeded 1 versus 16 seed. It's just like it's
Well,
not fun until there's only a couple players
it
left.
doesn't have to be right. It could be
It has
the
to be
blame.
if you want it to produce the best player at the end predictably. Right? If you want to
Uh,
minimize the chance of upsets, if you want the second best player to get
well, no,
second
because
place in the tournament.
the way the Blaine thing worked, right, is like he just gave the best player a bunch of buys, right? Like it was just like here you go, right?
Sure,
You're
sure,
just
yeah, yeah.
so instead of playing and then basically just restructured the tournament so the lower players, right, had to play a lot more, which is good too because again, we're talking we just want people playing the game,
Yeah.
right? You're getting the people who are, you know, who just want to sit there and play a bunch to play more matches and everything, and then they're gonna have a lot more tight races, and they're gonna get a couple wins out of it. Because like a lot of time, I'll be like in a Super Metroid, right? And I'll like there was 100% one I was in. It was like, okay, well, I'm gonna smoke this guy. This will be a close race, and then if I win, and then I get to play Behemoth. So it's like
Right.
out of the three, like I'm going to play two or three races, and only one of those will be competitive. So it's yeah, it's like the 1 through 16 should maybe go away, but like I think there's other interesting, and then I mean, again with the SGL, I'm so content brain now that I'm like, SGL does have a different thing that it is,
Yeah.
if we are putting money on it, then you do, you don't want to be too tricksy or anything like that because then it's going to leave bad taste in people's mouths. But like, I think again, doing something more like the Blaine format, right? Where might be something to look at there, because then we'll get more interesting matches and stuff. And then again, like we were saying, like, oh, look at Jesse and Vex, they both could make it. Like, okay, sure, they're going to go into the next round and then lose, but like if that was the money cut off, right, then it's like,
Hmm.
probably maybe like $20 or whatever. It wouldn't be huge, but it's like, okay, I mean, 20
There's
bucks
a
is 20
story there,
bucks,
yeah.
right? Like, yeah, like so there's at least something there's like that bubble cutoff is an actual thing, and if you get that match actually competitive, right, then so yeah, there's I think there's a ton of way to do this thing in ways that are maybe more interesting. I do like all these like the math behind like some of these form, like I think again I'm sorry, I'm going to talk this misinformation warning, wee woo, but I think Swiss is really good at like separating the top and the bottom, but Swiss's problem is the middle is just question marks, right? So like the person who wins the Swiss is almost certainly the best player. The person who loses is almost certainly the worst. But you can't go. You don't want to go like, okay, well, everyone in the middle is. You don't want to do it like, and I know SM does this. They do a Swiss into a bracket. It's like you shouldn't do that because it's bad at arbitrary cutoffs in the middle, right? It's good at the edges. In the middle, it doesn't actually have very good resolution. So I mean,
You
there's
can do it to
ton.
cut off a small top from a large pool. Like Magic
Yeah, yeah,
tournaments will
sure.
be run, but they have like, 900 players and they're taking the top
Yeah,
8.
yeah,
At
yeah,
that
yeah.
level, it's pretty
Right.
predictive.
It's just there's a lot of math that goes into these things, and I find that math. It's same like with voting systems, right? Like I'm really interested in like voting systems and everything, and like the different like way they work. You just, but sometimes you just go like, ah, we'll just do a Swiss and whatever, even though not you're using a hammer when you need a screwdriver, right? It's just the wrong tool for the situation. So
We use Swiss brackets in League for the specific reason that it makes the event predictable and everybody gets their races in.
yeah, I mean, and there's reasons as long as you're aware of the faults of the thing,
Yeah,
right? That's
yeah.
fine. And you're just like, well, that's not what I care about, right?
That's
Because
not, yeah.
if you don't have
We have a
money or
goal,
something,
right?
then who cares? Like, okay, if the best person doesn't win, then and if, in fact, if you don't have money, the best person winning probably isn't desirable, right? Because you do want some upsets and some fun and that kind of stuff. So it depends on what you're going for. But it's just like when people like purposely use the wrong tool and just like don't think about it, I just get like unreasonably angry, I guess I'll say.
Well, we'll definitely court your input for next year's NMG tournament at SGL. But we should actually talk about, you took a couple years off from the scene pretty much, and then you just popped back on in a blaze of glory as the SGL, sort of god dictator.
Yeah. Well, okay. I
How did
keep
that
saying
come to be?
I'm not doing a coup.
Yeah, my experience is that people saying they're not doing a coup is like really reassuring.
It's the Simpsons one where Lisa's getting the pen pal, and all of a sudden it turns to the the General Crumb is running the letter back to her. Oh no, it was, and there was that time. It actually happened in some country. There was a guy in the military got on the camera. He's like, "There has been no coup. Go back to your houses. Everything is fine."
Oh yeah, that's very reassuring.
Yeah,
Very
it's like,
good.
oh yeah, there's definitely no coup. Okay, we're all good here. Um, no, it was so like we had talked about me coming on board actually during the 2022 one, and it just like uh, for whatever reason it didn't. Uh, things can happen pretty slow around SG sometimes, and it was just I remember when Fiesel did contact me like and he was like, I thought I sent this message to you like 2 months ago, and it turned out like Discord just ate it.
Oh
So
boy.
it was like and like no, he just didn't notice because I mean he's Fiesel's got a ton of stuff doing. It's one of the reasons like we're trying to give him help, so like he doesn't have to worry about quite so much and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean like, so I didn't like I think you were like again because I was still around I was doing that rando league like last year, like so it hasn't been like 2 years like really I only really haven't played for like any retro game in like a year because I was still doing that was last January and stuff. I was doing that.
Okay. So a little less than that, yeah.
Yeah, but like like there's all these different communities and stuff. So as I was over there, and you've been, apparently grinding away in NMG with your 123 now. So, but like I was mostly doing rando and more on the S. The thing I mostly disappeared from was just vanilla, owing to the past. So I had still been doing stuff, but yeah, I kind of did disappear for a year, and then I said I was going to like sort of like I wanted to like, well, I should at least start doing commentary or that kind of stuff. And then that's when I finally got the message like, hey, like, all right, we finally like figured out how to do this. Like, so you want like, yeah, sure. And there's just a ton of stuff to do. And again, I'm just sort of the type of person where it's like if my name's on something, if I'm putting my weight behind it, like I want it to be the best thing possible. So, I'm spending a ton of, and this is the only thing I'm doing for work right now. So, because again, fortunate in the personal life and everything, so I
Right.
have the time and energy to do it. And it's like, it's like the way I see SG, it's like, I mean, not to get too much into the like real world political stuff, but like there's sort of this like, especially, uh, I mean, even before COVID, but I think COVID really exasperated like our generation, like millennials and younger. I assume you're a millennial. I can't tell. If you told me you were 23, I'd believe like
No, I'm
like it's
35. Yeah.
okay, yeah, yeah. So like our generation and like the millennial and like the Gen Z, like the whole like third space has just completely like disappeared,
Yeah.
right? I don't know, like were you ever like a mall rat kind of guy like in high school or anything? Like I
We
wasn't
all
even.
hung out in a sort of park downtown, not a mall, but
Yeah, like
yeah.
we hung out at a mall. I actually hung out at a gas station a bunch, like
Hell
which is
yeah.
like again, like a gas station is not a third place, but it was just like that's all we had.
Yeah.
And like I think it's gotten even like I'm not one of those guys where it's like oh those kids got to get out and like no like the internet is the like
The internet is the third space. For anyone,
yeah
sorry, real quick, for anyone listening who isn't aware of what the third space is, it's this concept of like the first space is the home, the second place space is the workspace, and then the third space is a place where like like a cafe, a coffee shop, something like that, where people meet and hang out casually and like meet new people and build relationships outside of work, basically.
Yeah. Anyways, that's sort of what I envision, like, because we've sort of lost it a lot. That's sort of why I envision speed. Like, to me, it's like a digital community center, right? Because like speed gaming is like a community of like, because speed gaming is so decentralized, where it's like a Link to Pass has their own community. I mean, even Link to Pass Randomizer has a different community. SM has their own thing, and like, there's plenty of like interconnections between them, but they all have their own shadow cancels and groups and infighting and drama and everything. So like, and like, we all get together, and it's like I don't really know any of the like Ocarina of Time people, right? But like we come to SGL, and I get to meet people from that scene and start talking to them, and so I got to meet new, especially now that I was staff, I had to interact with them, where previously I sort of would just stay with our little group. And it's just so it's a way to like meet more people. So it's just like so that's what I see SG as is like this community center type thing. So I want to like I want to like kind of like grow it and preserve this thing so it is like it's around for people to use and have and everything, and while dealing with like the economics of the whole situation and everything, because it's like all the infrastructure we have is not free, right? So that costs money and everything. Like what we're paid on staff is zero basically, and like I told Fiza when I came on, like, look, if this thing blows up, like I'm not going to be like you need to pay me more money, and like you need to pay more people. So because it's like I think like again it's like I want more people to be involved, and like because I want it people to get stuff out of it and everything, and so yeah, like that's I'm it's something I'm willing to put an effort on right now. We'll see where it goes, but hopefully we can sort of turn it into, or at least maintain it, because the I know like a lot of people just like having the races on and stuff just when they're like like when they're cleaning their house and everything, like especially like people with kids and stuff, because we still have the family friendly. They're like, yeah, we can just put it on. We know it's going to be nice, safe content and everything, and
Right.
it's not Baby Shark for the 10 billionth time. It's Rando for the 10 billionth time, but that's the problem. But it's and then like you come into like SGL and everything. Like I know you called it a link to the past con, which is kind of true, but again, like it's a link to the. I mean, how much did you talk to the like Ocarina of Time people or the Wind Waker people? Like,
Very little. I have
yeah,
some crossover with SM folks, but not a lot with the 3D Zeldas
right. And
or
the thing, I'm not saying
whatever.
like I'm not like shame you, that's fine. But it's like they come and they're just like it's the only time they really have a chance to get together
Yeah.
too. And so it's like for all these groups, it's like for you it's the Link to the Past con, for them it's Ocarina of Time con, right? And it's like I want to like expand the amount of like groups that we kind of have in there, or like under our little, because we're speed gaming, right? But like there's really only like 5 games we have that are really come here, right? So maybe expand that to a little more people, especially the SGL thing. That's like the yearly touchstone that people have. You can come and interact with in person. At SGL, I want to start doing more things where it's like, okay, let's do something where it's like all the groups together, right? So we can start meeting other people there and everything. So there's a little bit more of a forced mixing, right? Instead of because right now, like I've been saying, it's like if you're not a runner or just like someone who really likes commentating, right? Like no one is showing up just to watch the games, right? Really, there might
Mm.
be like one or two people. Like I've got friends in the area, and some more of them were going to come this year, but a lot of them end up falling through just for because we're all almost 40 now. We got lives and they have kids and all that kind of stuff. So but like 2 years ago in 2022, I was like, don't come because like I'm gonna be running. I'm in like 2 different tournaments. I'm gonna be commentating. Like these are other friends I have that I'm gonna be wanting to catch up with them. It's pointless for you guys to come because you're not gonna want to just sit there and watch rando races for 4 days, right? Like
Right.
they'll sit down and watch a couple speed runs, right? They're still nerds, right? But they're not gonna pay $80 to do that for 4 days, right? But like they're all board. That's why I was trying to make the board game thing a bigger thing this year. It's like, well, yeah, you guys will play board games for 4 days though, and then you can come watch a couple speed runs, or you can do like there was some talk about like escape rooms or something, even like some like
Hmm.
other random stuff.
Yeah.
So like I want to start adding like I keep saying like if you look at every major, you look at Dragon Con, you look at MagFest, you look at MomoCon, you look at whatever the hell con, Anthrocon, whatever. They all start as like some nugget of thing. Like we're going to have speedrunning tournaments in person, or like we're going to do a marathon for charity, or we're going to do like we want to do like music and stuff. They start this little nugget, and they sort of just Katamari ball into giant nerd fest, whatever. because like all of these things all have like you can go to Dragon Con and play board games. You can go
Yeah.
to MagFest and play board games. They have a speedrunning thing at MagFest. Like, so I kind of want to like start the Katamari ball rolling a little bit and start getting a couple extra like nubbins on the side because it's
So
like
so is your vision sort of de-emphasizing the tournament aspect of it and making it more of a
no,
social
I don't.
event?
So I don't want to de-emphasize. I don't want to de-emphasize. I want to leave that as the core, right? I want to still that, but I just want there to be. I want you. I'm sure you have other friends who are giant nerds, right? I want them to also come and have fun, and we'll watch. Maybe they'll watch one or two of your races, but there's a reason for them to show up and everything. So like,
I
no,
see.
like the beating heart of it will still be like. I'm not saying I'm trying to like de-emphasize or anything. Like, I just want there to be other shiny toys, like a like, and again, like have a reason for us to like, okay, like sure we do the tournaments during the day, right, and then at night maybe there's another event going on where it's like maybe like a Link to the Past and Ocarina. Maybe we like have some sort of like board game we play against each other, or some other game we play against each other, right? Some other like just like ancillary stuff, and like just having the like because 2022 there wasn't really a practice room at all, right? Because you look at like I went to GDQ 2020 and like the only real thing to do was hang out in the practice room. I think there was also like a Smash room, but at least it's like you can sit there and just play retro games all day, right? In 2022 we didn't even have that, right? If you
Really?
were either running or you were like hanging out outside, right? So if it was just one of my random friends, it's like, well, what the hell are they going to do,
Right.
right? Like, why would they come? So if there's just other stuff to do, right? Then there's a reason for people to show up and just be a viewer, right? Because I think there's a very small portion of people who's going to, and I don't even really know anyone who's just showing up to sit and watch the entire time, right? They're either adminning or commentating or they're doing something, right? Like you were involved in the primary thing at SGL.
Well, the people there are players for the most part,
Right.
staff, I guess, partners, right? Girlfriends, boyfriends in some cases.
And but even that, most of them are in the half of them are in the tournaments.
Some of them
Like,
are, yeah, yeah, yeah. But then, I mean, that's mostly it. There's very few people. There are actually a fair number of. One of the reasons I call it Link to the Past Con is that I went last year and didn't enter anything because it was the place to hang out with Link to the Past runners.
that's what I was gonna do.
And
Like,
there were a
yeah,
fair number of people in that situation. And if NMG hadn't come together this year, I would have done the same thing again. I would have just shown up
right.
to hang out with, my friends are joining Rando, so their friends are coming, and there's just gonna be a bunch of us. And like, I don't want to I don't want to do 6 Rando group races or whatever, but I do want to hang out for a few days with my friends. So
Yeah, sure.
that is a contingent. I don't know if other games have that. Like, I don't know if there's like vanilla SM runners who show up because they want to hang out with Ace and MM2 or whatever, but maybe there are those people too.
Take that, MM2. No, yeah, but it just like it is still run in the red, right? So like I don't want to look, I don't want to grow this. I'm not envisioning like this. Let's make this a 30,000 person event, right, and rent out National Harbor like Magfest does, right? But like I think like 1,000 people isn't an insane number to try to get to. Like Mag West out here, the one I went to before coming down, is like 800 to 1,000 people, and like it's still pretty chill. Like there is like it is not overwhelming or anything. Like it doesn't actually even feel that much bigger than like what we were at. So like I think like that's a decent number to maybe aim for, right? And like we to get to that number we do need to like because speedrunning is still it is a niche hobby inside of another niche hobby,
Yeah.
right? Like I mean there is modern speedrunning, but like especially with speed gaming is like you're already doing the retro thing and then on top of that you're doing this other thing on top of it just and like again there's like a ton of things for you to do like in the speedrunning community if you're not a runner like there's the commentator you can track you can like there's like admin you can admin tournaments if you know what you're doing and like there's just so like you can write tasks you can be a glitch hunter there's so much like just like floating around the ball of like it's almost like a little army right where you need like the mechanics and like you need everyone else too
Yeah.
right there's like so much and like, because I have that intro to speedrunning presentation I'm giving, and I'm like saying, like, just come and be a commentator. Like, you don't have to run the games. Like if you want to be a good commentator, you're probably gonna have to at least have done it once. So you're like, I understand the buttons, right? But like, you don't have to be good, right? Like, you just have to like, as long as you just sit there, you can watch the tutorials, maybe try the tutorial, but you don't have to like be grinding out runs to be a good commentator, right? Like, you just need to have a personality, right? And not a forced personality, because that's another thing.
Uh, I'm not going to ask who you're thinking of.
If only that was limited to one specific person. If only that was it's that guy. No, that's a large.
It is.
I
I
like
understand.
they're like a hockey towner is obviously is the guy in it. He's very much an over the top personality kind of style, and it works for him. And because he is popular, I think a lot of people go like, I'm gonna try to be like hockey,
Mm,
and it's like it's one of those things that it's like if you have to ask permission, then you can't do it, right? Like you have
that's
to
funny.
know what you're doing. Like I dated a bartender. Like that's a rule. Like you should not try to do that, right? You should not go out like I'm gonna try to date a bartender. It's like no. You have to know what you're doing. And it's really bad that I should know what I'm doing because I mean I've never even asked anyone out. So it's but yeah, like you just like no, like if you have to be told no, then you shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those weird catch 22 things. So but yeah, I mean I know we had this conversation about commentary. I don't know how much you want to get into it here with like how do you sort of like fix that problem? Because yeah, but I mean honestly, like I said, like I think the solution to like a lot of like the quote unquote problems we have is like we just need more people. Like we are still like subcritical mass in this like hobby and everything, and I think we just need to like shove more people into it, right?
Hmm.
Like, yeah, like I mean, it sounds a bit crass, and like again, and like I don't want to be like, oh, I gotta like, I gotta make the money and everything, right? But it's like, no, this is not like a money, and like I don't like again, but on the same time, it's like there's so many people who put like so much time and effort into this type of stuff, and it's like I mean, if you just think about how many hours of entertainment people in total will get off of like someone making one tutorial, because it's like the people who watch the tutorial and then they'll learn the game and all the hours they spend playing the game, and then other people will watch them all the hour. It's like this is again, it's just like a 2 hour tutorial that maybe takes like 20 hours to make. Like even in our small community has probably led to hundreds of thousands of hours of entertainment, right? Like it is a massive return on investment, right? But like so it's like yeah, like those people should probably get paid something, right? And it's like where does
Oh
that
yeah,
money come
yeah.
from? Like and it's like and there's like you look at GDQ, there's money to be I don't want to like I'm not saying like oh I want to take the charity money or anything like I but like it's I want people to get out of this what they put into it. I don't want it just be seen as like oh it's a silly little hobby or something. Like it's no, like this is again it's community, right? And like I care for the community. And I want the community to be able to pay their rent and pay their bills and do something they like. I don't want them to have a soul crushing job, right? And like
I think
everyone
it's
who's
I think it's tough because like I agree with all that. Like I think it's good when people who do good things get paid for it. Like that's awesome. That's how we incentivize to do people to do
right,
good things. Awesome,
right.
right? I think that like I want Trezco to make a shit ton of money and ZSR to last forever because that's awesome. I love having ZSR, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But the community is so small that it's very hard to actually extract enough money to be motivational to the kinds of people who have the skills and abilities to run these things. So it's like there's a problem where like if you're making enough money to live off of running SG, then that's awesome. Like that you can pursue your passion full time. But if you're making like $3,000 a year, then it just kind of feels gross. It kind of feels like, oh, now there's money involved. Like now I have to look at this differently. I have to like worry about all these different things, but it's also not actually solving any of the problems in my life. And it's really hard to like get past that bump of like
Yeah,
making these
yeah.
sort of pittances that mostly just serve to make people feel weird about it because a lot of people just like have emotions around
Well,
money, of course.
sorry, but also look,
So
I mean, like me getting paid like $30 a week is what motivated me to do all this stuff,
I
right?
can't
And
believe that, man. But yeah, apparently it did.
oh, well, it's just, I mean, again, I'm not, I'm in a fortunate situation where it's like I don't need the money, right? Because I'm, my stuff is taken care of, right? And it's just like so it's something to and like so this is my way of giving back, right? But it's like sometimes even just a little bit of, I'm gonna go Italian here, just a little bit of, of scratch, just like I mean it's true. I mean it's the beer money phenomenon, right? Like I had like a tutoring job in college. It's like oh, it's beer money, and like I mostly did it because it's like it's just it's nice tutoring people, it's nice helping people, right? And
Yeah.
it's like okay, I get some beer money, like so like there is and like I again I try not to get into real world politics too much here, but like yeah, it's I mean you say the community is small, but it's like if you think about like how much money you spend on just quote unquote entertainment, right? Is probably a large portion of your budget, right? So even like in a small like a small community like this, like there is like the amount of entertainment, like we were providing a lot of entertainment, like for, I mean, it is for free, right, for most of it, but like that is highly valuable, right?
Hmm.
And I don't get it wrong. I'm not saying like, oh well, but like one of the problems is because people are so they're struggling right now, right? A lot, like the rent is so much, food is a lot, and everything, right? They they just don't have the money to put into this, right? So it just yeah, it's weird. Because again, like you say, it's small. Like I don't think the smallness is what's really preventing it. I think like if everyone, if everyone was in a situation they should be in, right? Different world, being like there would be more money. Like again, we'll like I'm looking at other ways of maybe fundraising, and I mean look at like I mean like the Link to the Past was people just gave $2,000 to that, right? Which is not an incredible lot of money, but like I mean if we took every dime that was given to the tournaments in SGL, right, we could do a lot of awesome things, right?
Hmm.
So like there is money to do stuff, right? And I'm not again, I'm not saying like I'm gonna come for that money, right? Like I'm just saying like
You should. You should come for some of it.
yeah, I don't want
I
to get
want
too much.
SGL to run for another 40 years. Let's actually solve that problem.
Yeah, I want to. I do want to solve the. But again, right. There's way. What I'm saying is like, yeah, there's ways of raising that money without taking that money from that and still having that stuff. Because I
Right.
want those prize pools to exist too, and like so I don't. I was I'm trying to yeah I'm trying to walk a tightrope here because like we're still looking at stuff and I don't know what we're gonna do and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot like we haven't even gotten to our post SGL breakdown yet. Part of it because I had a my parents live in Florida, so I had to deal with Hurricane Milton. Thankfully, I say thankfully they've gotten lucky so many times. I'm like, can you just have a little bit of hardship once for a treat? Like just like my dad beforehand, my dad was like, well, the house is going to be gone. It's going to be under 6 feet of water. And the day after Milton's like, I'm standing in the house, it's bone dry. Oh, and the power just came back on. I'm like, I hate you. So, but anyways, I did have to deal with there was a chance I had to go down. So we haven't even done any of the post stuff yet, but this is all stuff we're going to talk about. But yeah, I do want, like I said, it's a community center. I want it to grow. I want it to be, and again, this is not like again, like let's make a pile of money so I can go sit, like Mai Tais on the beach or something. This is no, I'm like you. I want it to be around for 40 years, right? Like I want it to be a thing. I want like people to have kids and bring their kids into it and like, I want it to be an online community center. Like that's, I don't, there's not a better way of saying that, right? And like I want people to want to like put into like support it and like if they need to like take things out, like if people need like if I had put out in this because I know there was a couple people in Florida. I was like, because I was like, look, if anyone who was at this event has anything, like, let me know. We will like have a marathon for you, like,
Mm.
because like, again, I want it to be, it's a give and take thing, right? So, and I think a lot of it is just like, I don't even know how much like this has really been, and this is, I'm speaking for myself here. I'm not like this is nothing. I'm not speaking as SG. I'm just a guy who is contracted to work there, right? So, like this is stuff I want to do. If we can, we'll see it, and it's a lot of it's just up to like other people there as well. So, yeah, I don't want to say too much or get in trouble or anything or put someone in an awkward position. But yeah, I mean, I don't know how else you would describe it besides an online community center. That's really what I want to do. So like the money means nothing to me if like people around me are happy and stuff and have a place to be. So because again, I'm in a lucky situation, so I want to be able to give back.
If you could wave a magic wand and fix one problem with SG, what would it be?
Uh, I mean, can I just say the money? Like that's like
Uh,
that seems too easy, right? Like,
I think you can give a more interesting answer.
all right, well, I'll give you an answer that's doable because that's what we're gonna try. I think I would just fix the back end. It's just a. I mean, again, it's just this was like a passion project that like Fiesel did, and it's just like, are you a coder? But for some reason, I just assume
Yeah,
everyone's a coder. Like, you okay? Well, I'm sure you've probably dealt with legacy code before, right?
sure.
And it's just like, oh my, it's just like it's just one of those things. It's been around for so long, and like, so it's time to do a refresh on it, and like it is something we're actually working on a 2.0. I can at least say we're working on it. But that's I think that is in the way of so much stuff. And again, someone who's if you've worked on legacy code or if you've even like written software to replace something, that replacement once you're replacing something, especially if we don't have a giant team, it's not like we can have a 1.0 support team and a whole new set of people working on two, right? It's like, if you talk to Sigma, he's like, well, like I'm not gonna do any new features that takes more than like 2 hours on the old one, right? Because
Right.
like we should just be spending that time on the new stuff, right? So but I think that that's getting in the way of so much, and like because like we won't do new features there, the other thing is kind of rotting on the vine. So like if we could just like yeah, if I could just airdrop a complete new system top to bottom that's working, that would be so amazing. That would solve so many problems. Like and like so it's at least something we are working on and are going to try to fix, and that's going to be the main thing. I'm going to be like pounding the table this year, and I'm going to try to work with Sigma to architect it and everything, and figure out what we want to do with it. But yeah, I think that gets in a way. Like I know people complain about the tracker and this and that, and it's just like it's to the point where nothing individual can be fixed, and the whole thing has just got to be replaced.
Right.
But replacing software is like such a pain because again, like if it's not perfect, people will even if you replace something software with a new piece of software that's 10,000 times better. If there's one little thing the old thing did that this one doesn't, people are like, well, it worked on the old system. Why doesn't it work here? And you're just like, so like they'll complain about that. If it just straight up doesn't work good, you're toast. You're done, right? So like
Hmm.
putting in a new software is also really risky because it could absolutely because again we're working on a shoestring budget here. It could just kill it at the same time, right? So like we has to be done pretty smartly.
Yeah.
So I want to really sit down and like architect the whole thing. And again, I have like a proper engineering background, like so I mean not necessarily on software but just in the hardware space and everything, so I know like no we need to like sit down and like very carefully go through these things and not just wing it, right? So even if I don't have like the in-depth, like I have worked as a coder before but like I'm not like only for like a couple of years, so I don't have a very in-depth knowledge of all of that, but I can code and everything. But
Hmm.
like from like a top-down like systematic approach, I know like no, all these things need to fit together, and you can't yank that out. And like, how do we design these things to go together? So like that stuff I at least know and can deal with. So yeah, I think that's also kind of maybe a little of a cop-out answer because it's because so much of the stuff I've like wanted to do, it's like we can't like that's the first and last thing we have to do. Like we can't do anything else before that's fixed because that's anything else you're just sort of like sweeping the rug. And like I've trying to write some documentation and everything. Even that's just like, well, I just want to replace this. So what's the point? Like, yeah, it's there's just a lot, and like I think just tearing everything down and starting up everything new, and even just having like, I just want to have the whole. It's like here's the machines over here. Maybe there's like a heartbeat sensor scheduling thing that runs up here in the cloud, right? That's lightweight, and then there's like the here's the database and here's the UI inputs into it, and you can like maybe here's like the API anyone can use. So if you wanted to pull all your old races, what you could do that, or you can run post process whatever, and then like we can look at all that, right, and we go like, okay, let's like all right, let's like replace the database first because we can just make sure we still have the old inputs outputs, and then we can add whatever new ones we want on it, right? And then like okay, let's redo the Discord bots, right? Because you can just redo this without touching anything else,
Right.
right? So it's like once we have a whole system architecture, we can go like we can start like just like taking one piece out and like putting it back, right? And then like now that you have like a roadmap, you can go like, okay, let's like clean up all the Discord. Like there's why are there 8 million channels here? Like let's get rid of all this, right? Like how are we going to do tournament intake, right? Do we need that to hook into the database? Do we need to hook that into like this? If we don't, right, or we can stand it up by itself, we can just do that by itself, and then we can plug that back in over here later, right? Like if you architecture it right and you have all your input outputs right, you can just do like one thing at a
Right.
time, right? So you can start like kind of picking off the weak zebras, right? And then people will see like, oh look, things are getting better. Like it's like oh the tracker still sucks because I can't touch that until like that's the beating heart, right? So I can't touch that until I can touch everything else, right? So maybe that still sucks, but it's like hey the bots work now, right? Or the bots give you more information. Like I mean just like something like so simple is like you go on the SGL live channels and it's like you get in, like the bot like hey welcome thanks for doing the blah 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 here's the channel come in the channel you don't even read it because you've seen it 10,000 times you hop in the channel right and then like it like automatically purges everyone in there and kicks everyone out, which is all fine and dandy, right? But then like okay, you just purge the channel and purge everything. Why don't you post instructions right there? Or like, hey, if there's a problem, here's a Discord button and it will ping a volunteer.
Right.
Because every time there's a problem, like we have like three different Discords. There's like anytime there's a problem, sometimes we have a ping in the SG Discord to staff, and it's like, well, we're not the ones to ping. And then sometime in the volunteers Discord to it's like it's almost never the right person being pinged, right? And so it's just like why don't we just have the bot write some text and be like, if you have a problem, hit this button, and then it will
Yeah.
just ping the right people, right? That's not that hard, right? But once we sort of get all this stuff like planned, right, then we can start going like, okay, let's do that, right? That's an easy.
Sure.
We can just add this to the bot, right? Yeah, and then at that point, people will at least start because there's a lot of complaints. Just like, well, nothing's being done, right? And it's like from behind the scenes, like, I'm like, no, we're doing stuff. It's just like so much of it is firefighting and just and then like SGL, right? Like just takes up so much of your time because
Yeah.
it's like it's an in-person event and everything. So like, because I've been working on some other stuff and then SGL started and I was like, that's all I really did for like 3 months. It is what it is, but yeah, that's the main thing that is standing between us and future glory is it's just and it's not like anyone's like standing in the way of that. We know like there is code for speed gaming 2.0, right? It just needs to really be like looked at and what needs to be finished, what needs to be replaced, that all that kind of stuff. So, but it's one of those like once we can start replacing stuff, then we can start doing little things. People are like, oh, people are doing stuff, cool, right? Like, and I think that's really going to help as well.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely has felt to me for quite a while like SG is sort of frozen and
Yeah,
not improving. So it'll be good to see some improvements, some progress.
yeah. Well, yeah, it's a lot. So like, I don't want to like I tend to I get really excited about stuff. I'm like, we can do all this stuff, and then it's like, oh, that's a lot of work. And again, like I said, like there's projects I've started, and like there's some people remember the full countdown code I was writing for SMZ3 that just kind of got like literally just getting paid like this much money every once in a while. It's just like there's at least someone looking over your shoulder, and it's like it's amazing how much that little
Hmm.
bit can really act as a motivation for because like you say like, oh, I feel gross about it, but it's like it's also an obligation all of a sudden, right? Like, so it's like, okay, if I'm giving people like even just a little bit of money, I can be like, hey, where's that thing that I paid you for, right? Like,
Yeah, I think a lot of people just don't really want to mix money with their hobbies in that way.
no,
Like
I understand.
you seem to have a particular experience of that I don't think is universal.
Yeah, I mean, there's other people I've met that certainly are on my side as well too.
Sure,
That
sure.
again, just like, and it's just like just getting anything. It's just like it's like okay, like I'm actually like what I'm doing is appreciated, right? Like I'm sure you've had it at work too, where it's just like sometimes just like it's almost the opposite where when you're working, right? Like the thing, like no, I really want money because I need to feed myself, right? I don't really
Yeah,
like someone just going like, hey, good job. It's just like sometimes that is just like it's just it certainly helps. And again,
for
when
sure.
people's budgets are so tight and just like money is like so hard to come by, like just anything helps. So, and it depends on your situation. Again, if you're, as a software, someone works in software, I'm sure you're doing at least okay, right?
Mhm.
So, where your like line for like how much money you care about something is completely different than someone else's, right? So, but yeah, I mean, it is like, I don't like money as much as the next person, trust me. Like, I don't, money's not real. It's not a thing. We made it up. Like, so it's not a thing that I actually believe in, but it's a tool like anything else, right? And like anything else, you can use it wrong or you can use it right, right? And I think and again, the thing I really care about is I just want people to have houses and food, and especially in this community, right? That's where I want to start with. So,
Well, first you got to move them out of Florida.
well, yeah, my dad finally was like, okay, I'm getting out of here. I'm like, yeah. Which, of course, unfortunately, now that he has finally agreed to sell his house, he unfortunately now has to deal with the old famous Shapiro slash Aquaman paradox. So,
Oh, what?
some of your listeners will get it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
It's a banger of a joke, trust me.
I'm laughing on the inside.
All right, I'll show you the clip afterwards since you've apparently never seen it. But
Okay.
it's an H bomber guy reference.
Oh yeah, I never watched him.
Okay, well there you go. So there's one guy watching this podcast right now that's cracking up right now.
Shout outs to that guy. Like and subscribe if you're that guy.
Probably Blaine.
So, do you have any non SG related gaming plans coming up? You gonna get back? I don't think I've seen you stream in months. You gonna do some speedruns, do some
No.
randos, anything like that?
Like I said, I'm trying to give the same panel in Mag Fest out in January. So I submitted the package. I submitted SM, I submitted Michael Jordan, and I submitted Captain Novolin. So I guess I got to derust those.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I honestly didn't even really want to do SM, but it was like I didn't even know they were doing this thing, and I was just like, because they're doing it. It's a charity, right? And I'm just like, well, save and kill the animals is just kind of free money, isn't it? So I guess I'll submit to SM, so someone will do it because I don't know. I said like if anyone else submits this, please pick this so I can just do the other ones. But like if like I'm the only one, I will do it. So, but yeah, that's it. I might turn on the stream at some point. I don't want to make any problem. Again, I kind of like being behind the scenes a little
Yeah.
bit. I do want to. I think I'm pretty done with Rando, but I think I might want to like come back to just some vanilla stuff.
Cool.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But I got those to knock off. So any glorious return to A Link to the Past will probably have to wait a minute. But
Sure.
maybe I'll randomly airdrop in on a weekly or something and finish in 2 hours.
Try to get the sub 90 this time. We
Try to
didn't really
get
talk about this.
the sub 120.
Yeah, sub 120 minute, the other 120. We didn't really talk about it at all when we were talking about your speedrunning history, but yeah, you ran a couple meme games too. I forgot about that.
Do not call Michael Jordan Chaos Limited City a meme game. That is, and I'm being dead serious about this. I like I'm gonna look directly. This is one of the greatest unknown speedruns in history. So like it is so much fun. It is insane. Like I thought it was gonna be Captain Novoland is a meme. Don't play that. That's awful, awful game. Michael Jordan. I picked it up because it was like, oh yeah, it was like another because it was I was thinking like, oh, Captain Novoland was a fun meme. What else can I do? Like, oh, this is this real dumb game that I used to play. This will be fun. And it's like, oh, there's like 3 people on this leaderboard. That's how many people were in Captain. This is an easy world record for me. And then I looked, and the guy who has the world record, Michael Jordan, I like looked at his runs, and it was like run count was like 17,000 or something like.
Holy
What
shit.
Bert Sasquatch is the greatest speedrunner you've never heard of. He is amazing. And like, it's not just this game. There's like a bunch of like Shrek games. He just like has world record. Like if you look at his profile, it's only world records, and they're amazing. And it's in the dumbest games. I was like, Bert, you need to play Super Metroid because you'd probably just get the world record or something. You're like, what? He's like, I don't like Super Metroid. I'm like, okay. No, but Michael Jordan, it's like I know like we don't do like the make fun of people who like made video games anymore but it's like they spent all this time highly crafting Michael's movements and his animation, and there's like all these like turnarounds that he does, and like so like and I assure you like the more complex like an animation or character is control, like the more interesting the mechanics are going to be in a speed run, right? So like it's like this like just the animations on Michael took like they spent like 2 years like finally crafting this, and then they gave it to like Tibor the intern. It's like you do the level design because like the level it's like the levels are it's all like flat and like they're trying to do this perspective thing so you can't like where the edges aren't actually where the edges is, and like Michael can run really really fast but like they didn't like design the levels for that. So like if you play it casually, you have to like you kind of like make these like very because you can't see where you're going and everything, right? It's like but if you're speed running, you know where all the ledges are. So now all of a sudden you can go at like warp speed through these levels and you're doing all these like weird jumps. There's 2 different jumps in that game and they both behave completely differently.
Oh, like SM.
No, SM only has 1 jump.
No, SM has good jump and bad jump.
Oh, well, no, that's depending on what the items you have. But I'm saying like there's 2 different jump. It's more like a Super Mario World where you have 2 different types of jump, like the spin jump and the regular jump.
Well,
right?
I mean, SM literally has regular jump and spin jump.
But it's the same button.
Oh, there's different buttons in.
There's 2 different. One is just
Okay.
a jump, and one is a slam dunk.
Oh, hell yeah!
And the way they behave is completely differently. And like the one, like if you jump, do like a regular jump, and you spin in the air, like there's actually even more than that because the regular jump can also turn into a spin jump if his speed is maximized, and you can preserve your speed by if. Like, because he'll like try to like push a wall, but if you just keep jumping into the wall, you'll preserve your. Again, there's all these like crazy mechanics in it, but like you'll never run into any of them if you're just playing the game normally, because like all there is death pits everywhere, so you have to move as slowly as possible to play it casually. So no, but it's a fantastic speed. Like the movement on that game is like on. Again, I'm gonna say this dead. It is the second best movement on the SNES besides Super Metroid, and I am being 100% dead serious here.
Okay, that's a pretty big claim, but.
I will just the movement, right? You have to realize that like he is in like a room full of spikes and shards and glass that make it so painful to do, but it's like fighting Mahula not in the Moth Spike room, right? It's a completely different experience.
That's funny. I just looked up that leaderboard, and your comment on that is a phenomenal GIF.
Yeah, I got into the habit. It was some point, I think it was when I was on the 112 hunt. I realized that speedrun.com will just show you GIFs.
It just embeds GIFs, yeah.
That's all I did from since then. So like at that point, I started only doing memes. My favorite. Do you remember in the AD tournament when I was racing and I died to ball and chain guard? I reset and got a PB.
Yeah.
You should go look up.
And you won the race that included
and
the
I won
time
the race.
with the ball and chain death.
And not even that. I apologize because it was like I just like rage because I knew I was like on a verge of a PB and like I wanted to have a good run. I just like rage myself out thinking of it, and I was like, oh geez. I was like, I like after I was like, I don't. I hope like you didn't take that as like BM or anything, because I wasn't trying to do that. And like, what was really because like he had like a 115 or something. I think like he either PB'd or almost PB'd on that run too, because like we were getting into the run and everyone was like, "Is Duck gonna lose?"
Yeah.
Because like even when it first happened, everyone was doing the math. He was like, "Well, Duck should still be fine," and like So had an amazing run too, and it was like, "Oh my God, he's gonna lose." Like and like honestly, if I lost, I would have been so happy because it'd have been like you deserve that, like
Yeah.
because like it was. But yeah, I didn't end up like repassing him until like the end of Meyer or something. Like it was like I think he tried the Meyer hover or something and failed it,
Oh
and I
yeah.
was able to like catch up because of that.
And there was a good GIF in that submission, is what you were getting to?
It's a video. Some of them are. I remember some of my other favorites was the run before I got the 125. I think I felled the Moldorm or something, so it was like the weirdest run where I had like a minute like time save earlier, and then it was like the rest of the run was almost perfect. So my submission was it was the best of times. It was the blurst of times, the Dankmas one, because like it was so like the tale of two runs.
Yeah, here it is, the blurst of times.
Yeah, I started getting pretty creative on my on my submission once I realized like you can embed stuff. I was so happy. Like it just went. There was times where I didn't submit things for like weeks because like I have to think of the perfect joke to go with this.
Glad you have your priorities straight.
Yeah. Oh, the other good one of my earlier Michael Jordan ones, was it was early on when I was running it, and my PB actually beat my sum of best.
Hmm.
So it was a Macho Man Randy Savage YouTube video where he's just talking that he's like the best or better than the best the entire time.
Better than the best. Yeah, there it
Better
is.
than the best. Ooh yeah. I'm sure that's gonna come off great. Yeah, I really like to. I had some good ones on there.
Little appreciated art form.
It is a little appreciated art form. That was I did it like on accident, or I was clicking on someone else. It's like you can embed stuff on here, and I was like, oh my, this is all I'm ever doing. Like it's like that's all that matters.
All right. Well, you have anything else to talk about? I think we covered all of our bases
No,
here.
my throat is very dry, and I have a hockey game to go play. I didn't think this was gonna be gonna prattle on for like 2 hours, but
No, yeah, yeah. Been a while. Well, it was great to have you on. Thanks for chatting with me. I hope you have a good hockey game tonight,
yeah, thanks.
and I'll talk to you later.
All right, have a good
Bye.
one. Bye. Do 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 speed drop.